Story number one comes out of Tennessee. Evan, Titans lose to the Raiders on Sunday, fall to 1-5. Honestly, they would have been 0-6 if not for that Amari DiMercato dropping the ball before he got to the end zone. And then on Monday, one day after that Raiders loss, Titans make the move, fire head coach Brian Callahan, who posted a 4-19 record as head coach. Mike McCoy will take over as interim coach. Evan, your reaction to the Titans' decision and any initial thoughts on how Mike McCoy might change things for the Titans?
This team is just in a complete state of disarray. Not only did Brian Callahan go, but of course his father, Bill Callahan, the great offensive line coach, who hasn't really, that hasn't materialized in Tennessee. But I mean, they also lost their offensive line coach, a very respected guy. They also the Titans passed over Nick Holtz, again, their offensive coordinator, to promote Mike McCoy. They passed over Bo Hardigree, the guy who was calling plays in place of Brian Callahan, for Mike McCoy, who was the senior offensive assistant. I went and looked at for Mike McCoy's age, and I was expecting him to be like 68 years old. He's only 53, but the last time we saw him calling plays with Arizona, he was a run pass guy. I mean, he calls plays like he's 7 years old. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with right now, considering the condition of the offensive line, losing the offensive line coach. And I mean, the Titans are just going to be bad the rest of the way. I don't know if you saw the tweet that Matt Harmon posted, but the last 4 number 1 overall picks in the draft, they have all lost their coach within the first year. And Cam Ward is just the next guy to have to deal with that.
I mean, yeah. And look, the Titans' decision-making from the top down has been woeful, right? Like, they fired John Robinson, and Greg Rosenthal pointed all this out. They fired GM John Robinson after that power struggle with Vrabel. Then they fire Vrabel after power struggle with Rand Carthon, right? They hire Brian Callahan. Then they fire Carthon. Callahan helps to pick the new GM, and then they turn around and fire Callahan. It's like there's no plan. There's no rudder. There's just nothing going on, and they just keep making these rash decisions. Not that I thought that Brian Callahan was doing a good job. I did not think he was doing a good job, but it just shows a lack of understanding of what you need to do. Firing Vrabel was just crazy. Like, Vrabel is a very, very good NFL head coach. The sickest part of this, and I'm sure,
and they're playing. Mike Vrabel is playing at Tennessee this week.
The sickest part of this is that Rap Sheet, and I'm sure this was leaked by someone around the Titans, or maybe not, who knows, but Rap Sheet comes out and says 2 names to watch for the Titans' eventual head coaching job are Arthur Smith and Matt Nagy. Are you kidding me? Those are the 2 names, the first 2 names out of Rap Sheet's mouth to watch for are Arthur Smith and Matt. Those were like the 2 worst I could possibly think of in the entire league. So yeah, it's just really, really bad. Do you have any thoughts, Evan, on what they'll do long term? And then I also want to get your take if you have any more hope for Ridley, Ward, anything under Mike McCoy versus Callahan.
I really have no idea what the Titans are going to do. Amy Seastrunk Adams wasn't even she's the owner. It wasn't even at the press conference to announce the firing of the coach and what they're going to do moving forward. So it's a completely unpredictable situation at this point.
Yeah. Okay. Cam Ward. I read the quote last week when we talked about the Titans on this show. I read the quote from Dan Orlovsky last week. You guys can go back and check that out. And I respect the tape bros. I really do. But from a data perspective, Cam Ward's 6-game start is one of the worst 6-game stretches you can possibly have as a quarterback. I think that the main reason to me to fire Brian Callahan is like, we cannot botch this number 1 overall pick. If we think Brian Callahan is to blame for this horrific start to Cam Ward's career, despite what the tape bros say, then we have to get rid of him, right? I totally get that. So, Evan, where are you at on Cam Ward right now? Maybe at least for Dynasty Bros. Like, do you buy the tape bros saying that Cam Ward is awesome, or do you buy the data that's saying Cam Ward has been the worst quarterback in the NFL this season?
He's on pace to take 71 sacks. You can see the physical skills. I mean, he's got an absolute hose for an arm. He's plenty athletic. I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders as a guy. look at what he's playing with. It's one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Dan Moore has been a total bust as a free agent, signing at left tackle. J.C. Latham just got back in there after like a 4-week absence. He got whooped on an island by Max Crosby all game long. They're running out. Calvin Ridley pulled his hamstring in this past game, and they're running out Alec Ayamanor, a rookie who, I mean, we like, but he's a 4th-round rookie. Shamir DK, a rookie. Gunnar Helm, a rookie. You know, Cam Ward has no chance in this situation, and hopefully they can figure out something, but it doesn't look good. It's going to be a really, really rough season, and when you look back at the end of this season, statistically, you know, he's going to be in a bucket of busts. I mean, that's just how it's going to be statistically. I don't think that he's a good bet to be a bust. I think that he can succeed because of his skills, because of the head that he has on his shoulders. But at the end of the season, he's going to look like a bust when you put him on paper. No question.
Okay. Small notes from the Titans game. Evan mentioned Calvin Ridley's hamstring injury in this game. He also came into this game banged up with some soft tissue stuff. So Calvin Ridley really banged up right now, not ideal. The other note that I had, Evan, Tajee Spears outsnapped Tony Pollard in this game, 36-26. And I also thought that Tajee Spears outplayed Tony Pollard here. So obviously the systemic stuff with the Titans has been horrible for Tony Pollard, but do you think that this Spears-Pollard stuff is going to get to 50-50 split here the rest of the way?
Oh, I think that with everything in flux, just whatever guys play well, you know, it's just going to be an ongoing competition. It's going to be a position battle on a weekly basis in practice, in the games going forward. That's going to take away some of our predictability. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're just kind of trying to stay away from Titans players, you know, with the exception of in season-long leagues when big bye weeks hit, which next week, week 8, there will be 6 teams on bye. Like, yeah, we might be looking at Tajee Spears as a potential flex starter.
Okay. Let's go to story number 2, comes from the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers went to Miami and won. Story coming into the game was, how would the running back spot look without Amari and Hampton? There was a ton of different reports and speculation out there. It turned out Kimani Vidal started the game. Kimani Vidal got the first carry. Kimani Vidal outsnapped Hassan Haskins 43-20. Vidal 21 routes, Haskins 8. 22 opportunities for Vidal, just 10 for Haskins. Vidal also outplayed Haskins, 6.6 yards per touch for Vidal. I thought he looked really good, and Haskins just 3.3. So all the season-long people are falling all over themselves to get Kimani Vidal off waivers. He's kind of the kind of player that you probably should have had coming in to last week as a guy who was like, well, he's in a reasonable spot. We think that Haskins might be slightly ahead, but we don't really know. But if he wasn't picked up as of last week, major priority this week, I think. Evan, what do you think about Kimani Vidal's short/long-term outlook?
I mean, I've liked Kimani Vidal. He was a truly dominant runner at Troy, especially in his final season. He had almost 300 carries, which is a really big number, over 1,600 rushing yards in his final season at Troy. I know it's the Sun Belt Conference. He caught 92 passes in his college career. He ran 4.46 at 213 pounds. That's a pretty nice speed score. He's definitely an above average athlete. And it kind of bothered me that he didn't make the 53, and he was a practice squad signee in the first couple of games, you know, bringing him up to the 53, not putting him permanently on the 53. And then all the reports going into week 6 were that Hassan Haskins was going to get the first crack. What they did, I mean, they just, like, a lot of times in these situations, they'll just go with the hot hand. Kimani Vidal immediately showed the hot hand. They rode him almost 70% of the snaps. He's got actual explosiveness, and he can catch the ball and play in the passing game. I'm excited about him. I mean, and he was playing with a half of a deck of cards. I mean, this offensive line has been super, super banged up. The Chargers didn't even have their number 1 receiver in this particular game. But yes, I would absolutely be on paper. Kimani Vidal has the traits of a 3-down running back.
They were playing the Dolphins, right? And the Dolphins and the Cowboys are the 2 spots that I want to attack with running back, really with everyone. And these are like 2 really, really bad, like outlier bad defenses. But but I thought it was notable that Vidal got the first carry of the game. All the reports that Haskins was be slightly ahead, Haskins would get the first crack, they were all wrong. I mean, they evaluated this and said Vidal's actually going to get the first carry of this game. So I thought that was really notable. For more on that, you can check out the waivers stuff with Daigle, the show, the article, the Q&A. Evan mentioned no Quentin Johnston here. So in Quentin Johnston's place, he was out with a hamstring, and it seemed like kind of close to a game time decision. So I kind of think he'll be back pretty soon. But Trey Harris stepped in, 33 routes on 39 Justin Herbert dropbacks. Keandre Lambert-Smith, just 9 routes. One of the beneficiaries, though, from a target perspective, Evan, was round 5 rookie Oronde Gadsden. We've talked about this guy a bunch. Entered college as a wide receiver, moved to tight end, caught 73 balls for 934 yards, 7 touchdowns as a tight end for Syracuse in 2024. Now, Will Dissly and Tyler Conklin were both active for the Chargers on Sunday. Gadsden ran 30 routes, Dissly 8, and Conklin 0. And Gadsden fumbled early in this game, and they still stuck with him.
That led directly to a Devon Achane touchdown.
So I mean, they clearly
and they stuck with him, right?
And they stuck with him. So yeah, I mean, what do you think about starting Gadsden in season-long leagues going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll talk about it at the end of the week and see how the week plays out. Because Quentin Johnston probably should have a decent chance to return. I mean, he did practice on a limited basis all last week.
Yes.
Oronde Gadsden's he's in the bucket. He's now in the bucket of guys that we can potentially start at the worst position in fantasy,
Agreed.
Which is tight end. But yeah, sticking with Oronde Gadsden after essentially a back-breaking fumble in a very tight game. That tells you that that the Chargers have confidence in Oronde Gadsden. That goes a long way with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman for me. I thought another interesting thing was Trey Harris played 82% of the Chargers' offensive snaps. I was listening to Daniel Jeremiah talk about this. Daniel Jeremiah does the color on the broadcast for the Chargers, really close with that organization. Anything that Daniel Jeremiah ever says about the Chargers, take that seriously. They love him as a blocker. I know that that's not fun. That doesn't get you fantasy points, but that's the reason that Trey Harris is playing so much. If you look at a bunch of their long runs, and in particular in this game for Kamani Vidal, but also for long runs for Omarion Hampton before him, Trey Harris has been on the downfield end of blocks, springing those guys. I also was a little bit surprised. Keenan Allen, in his last 2 games now, this is back-to-back games, he's played under 60% of the Chargers' offensive snaps. I noticed that going into last week, he was at 56% against Washington in the previous game, but then he was at 57% in this game. He does have 7 or more targets in every Chargers game so far, but I did not see him getting downgraded that much in terms of playing time. You were right about Ladd McConkey. I had high hopes for Keenan Allen. He was a disappointment, 4 catches for 27 yards.
Yeah, once the QJ news broke, tried to get like all in on Ladd here. And it was good to see Ladd pay off. When it's close, and I thought it was close between Keenan and Ladd, and we had it pretty close. I think we had Ladd 1 point ahead in projection ahead of Keenan. But when it's close like that, I'm like, give me the younger, more explosive, talented guy. And good to see Ladd put together a good game here with QJ sidelined. Story 3, Arizona Cardinals. Tough scene for Kyler Murray, Evan, because he can't go with this foot injury at Indy. Cardinals fans, the internet, fantasy bros, everybody's rejoicing because they think Jacoby Brissett is better. And I was honestly skeptical there, but Brissett handled himself very, very well. Even with Marvin Harrison leaving early due to a concussion, Brissett goes over 300 yards, throws for 2 touchdowns, almost beats the Colts on the road. So this is a very tough scene for Kyler Murray. I'm not sure what the status of his foot injury is, but I would bet there's a lot of Cardinals fans out there that want to say, and Trey McBride owners that want to say, hey, let's stick with Jacoby Brissett. Now, they came out and said when Kyler's healthy, he's going to be the starter again. We don't know when he'll be healthy. Evan, what do you think of Brissett and all the Kyler stuff?
Well, the way that the reporters have described this injury, it sounds like a sort of like a Liz Frank sprain, maybe called a mid-foot sprain, and it sounds like he's going to miss another game. Kyler Murray's going to miss another game. And one of the things that I kind of speculated about going into this past game was that maybe the offense could run, Drew Petzing's offense could run more structurally sound with a guy that will hang in the pocket and, can see over the offensive line, isn't going to run around behind the offensive line a bunch and throw off the way that the offense is constructed. And that's Jacoby Brissett, who's 6'4". He isn't going to move very much. But I mean, he will stand there and deliver. And that's kind of what happened in this game. And the Cardinals are 2-4 now. I mean, people got to start worrying about their job security in Arizona. So I don't think they're going to trot out a dual threat quarterback with a foot injury after Jacoby Brissett just was able to execute the offense in the fashion that he was against one of the best teams in the league. I mean, the Colts they're 5-1. They should be 6-0. We'll get to that when we talk about the AFC. They would be 6-0 if not for A.D. Mitchell, who was a healthy scratch for this game. But, I think that the Cardinals right now, they may trust Jacoby Brissett to run Drew Petzing's offense in a more structurally sound manner than they would Kyler Murray, especially with the foot injury.
Yeah, and we had heard coming into this game that they were implementing a more throw-heavy game plan with Jacoby Brissett, and he dropped back a ton of times in this game. And you get the big Trey McBride game. You get Trey McBride touchdown, which Kyler Murray has been unable to get Trey McBride touchdowns. You get Brissett in there for one game, and immediately Trey McBride gets a touchdown there. So yeah, I mean, Brissett was so bad for the Patriots last year. This situation is clearly better. They play the Packers next, and then the Cowboys do the Cardinals. Other story from the Cardinals was the running back spot. Michael Carter indeed started, but they went to a lot of Bam Knight, especially in the second half. DeMercado also got banged up, left this game with an injury. My kind of gut is that they prefer Bam Knight slightly, but they're likely to go hot-handish at this base role. DeMercado, if he's healthy, back in the pass down role. So it's a tough spot here. We'll see on DeMercado's injury, but as of now, I think I'd probably rather play Bam Knight than Michael Carter, just initially was my take. And then the last thing is Marvin Harrison's concussion. I mean, God, they have to go to like Zay Jones, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch as a three. And I don't even, I'm no Marvin Harrison guy, but losing him leaves them with like nothing. So yeah, it's not great.
They got Green Bay coming to town next too. So tough sledding ahead.
Let's go to story number 4, the New York Giants. What a night for the Giants and Giants fans on Thursday against the Eagles. Like, for the first time I can remember in a long time, there is some actual excitement around the Giants. We thought, going back to like the preseason, Jackson Dart had a chance to actually be their guy. Felt better about it after watching him in preseason. And then this win on Thursday night, like, so impressive. And then Cam Skattebo also, the way he plays, and Abdul Carter is going to be a hit also. So like this draft that the Giants had, Dart, Skattebo, Carter, really, really, really exciting. Evan, what do you think of Giants rookies on Thursday night in that win over the Eagles?
Yeah, and Jackson Dart did. I mean, he only had 25 pass attempts in this game. But, I mean, he was successful. In his first 2 games, he was right around 5 yards per pass attempt. So, there was reason for skepticism. He was up around 8 yards per pass attempt in this game. That was without Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton. So, I mean, I thought it was really, it was definitely a promising effort. Cam Skattebo threw 3 starts, 27 touches, 21 touches, 21 touches on 75%, 69%, 71% of the snaps. Tyrone Tracy did return against the Eagles, and I think that his role may grow a little bit. But Skattebo, because he's going to be healthier, and now they'll be coming off a mini bye. They're facing Denver this week. So that's going to be in Denver. That is going to be really, really tough. But I think that Skattebo, the way that he plays, his relationship with the other players, with Jackson Dart in particular, like he's going to be the main guy going forward. He's played at a really high level, both as a runner and also as a blocker and as a receiver.
Yeah. So as Evan said, Tracy came back for this game and played 21 snaps. Skattebo 49. Devin Singletary was phased out with just 4. And I do think Devin Singletary would be a trade candidate at the deadline here, coming up to a running back needy team. But my point is that even though it's only 49-21 in snaps in favor of Scadaboo's getting the high value touches. All the goal line stuff's going to go to Scadaboo. And he has proven to be a very, very good receiver, and Dart is not afraid to throw it to him either. So Scadaboo arrow certainly putting straight up. Mention the passing concerns on Dart. It's going to be hard without Neighbors. We'll see if he can get Slayton back. But the rushing, 50-plus rushing yards in 3 straight games. In his first 3 starts, he's run for 167 yards and 2 touchdowns. Anytime you can do that, your fantasy floor is going to be mega, mega high. And so Dart in 2 quarterback in the super flex, QB3 in best ball is very, very strong just on the rushing.
Yeah, Jackson Dart is just the 3rd quarterback in the Super Bowl era to run for at least 50 yards in each of his first 3 starts. The other 2 are Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts.
Story number 5, Los Angeles Rams. Rams went to Baltimore. It was a little windy. The offense was underwhelming, but the defense suffocates Cooper Rush. Tyler Huntley, they win 17-3. The story, though, was this Puka Nacua injury. On pace for one of the greatest wide receiver seasons ever. He sprains his ankle in this game. Good news is it looked worse than it seemingly was. The Rams are calling him day to day. They say Puka feels pretty good. They're not ruling him out yet for week 7. I would note that they have a bye in week 8. And so if he sits out here in week 7, he would get, 2.5, 3 weeks off. So Evan, thoughts on the Rams game and this Puka Nacua injury? Jordan Whittington was the one who benefited most in terms of routes from Puka going out.
Yeah, it seems like they avoided a serious injury, as you mentioned. And also, I think it would make sense to just leave Puka back home and not bring him to friggin' Europe. I mean, no one wants to go to Europe anyways. So Puka Nacua, I mean, my guess is that he just doesn't even make the trip, and Jordan Whittington jumps into that role. Jordan Whittington actually is kind of like a similar prospect. I'm not saying that he's like on the same spectrum. Jordan Whittington's way at the bottom, and Puka Nacua is literally at the top of the spectrum. But in terms of like prospect profiles, that kind of thing, Jordan Whittington can do, many of the things that Puka Nacua can do, just not at nearly as high of a level. But I think that if all that goes to, as I just kind of laid it out, Jordan Whittington will be a usable wide receiver 3 in season-long leagues against Jacksonville in the Europe game.
Yeah, Jordan Whittington, 25 routes on 29 Stafford dropbacks in this game against Baltimore. And Jordan Whittington was in the slot on 47% of his snaps. Obviously, with Puka out, Devontae Adams is going to be a turbo smash here coming up in the London game.
Also, Blake Corum turned his ankle in this game. Mm-hmm. I wonder if we might get a glimpse of Jarquez Hunter in Europe.
That would be fun. The Slappies would be very, very excited to get Jarquez Hunter in actual touch in an NFL game. Remember, if you want to read all of Evan's takes before the games happen, he does that in his matchups column each week. Also, if you want a show that includes all of Evan and I's takes for the upcoming Sunday DFS slate or our final takes on Sunday morning in show form, all of that is part of our in-season product. Details at establishtheRun.com. We do have weekly, monthly, and annual options available. That is the in-season product on establishtheRun.com. All right, let's go to the NFC now. Evan will go in alphabetical order, starting with the Atlanta Falcons. Really, really impressive win for the Falcons last night. Beat the Bills 24-14. Bijan Robinson is just so insane. Like, Arthur Smith only gave this guy 12 carries per game as a rookie. In 2024, people knocked Bijan because he only had 5 runs of 20-plus yards. He already has 3 runs of 20-plus in 6 games this season, including that 80-whatever last night. Oh, and he's also averaging 4.8 catches per game. I mean, this Bijan season is setting up as a very, very special one. Evan, what'd you think of Falcons game last night?
Yeah, the Falcons also continue to play like legit, like rock solid defense. I mean, they came into week 6 as the number 1 rated defense in the league in terms of yards allowed. Raheem Morris is doing a bang up job. They used a bunch of early draft picks on defensive linemen over the past few drafts, and those guys are like really contributing. Um, and that's something to factor in because that's not something that I expected entering the season.
Yeah.
I thought that their defense would be like it usually is, playing indoors, giving up a lot of points, playing in shootouts, and that has not necessarily been the case. They can lean on the run here. They deactivated Ray McLeod. He was a healthy scratch coming off. They had a bye in week 5. They made some changes. They went all out into the running game in this, and that worked out magically, and just peppering Drake London with footballs. I mean, this is kind of what we envisioned for Drake London coming out of training camp, for him to have this kind of a role. He's got monster games in back-to-back weeks, looking like a truly elite NFL receiver. Also came up really close he should have had another touchdown. I mean, he's very, very close to another touchdown. Got tackled at the 1. I think it was at the end of the second quarter, and then the clock expired.
They were without Darnell Mooney once again in this game. And by the way, Darnell Mooney did not even practice at all last week with a hamstring injury. Now, the splits with Mooney off and London on are very strong for London. I think he's playing at a level right now where Mooney's return won't affect him too much, but certainly when Mooney is out, it's like Drake London to the moon. 50% target share here for Drake London. If Mooney can ever get back, I still think Mooney can be a good player, but I don't think he's going to affect London like that much. But there's just a smaller pie because, like Evan said, they're just not throwing as much as we expected before the season. Defense is so good, run game is so good.
I also think that the return of Mooney could actually help everyone because it could just make the offense better, and they could score more touchdowns and be more efficient offensively. One thing I am watching as we head into the Falcons play the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Jake Matthews, the Falcons left tackle, left this game on Monday night with an ankle injury, and he's a cog. They lost Caleb McGarry before the season. You don't want to be without both of your starting offensive tackles at any point. We've seen that happen with, the Chargers, for instance. Mm-hmm. But that's a situation to monitor. Jake Matthews' ankle injury heading into week 7.
Let's go to the Carolina Panthers and Jim Brown. I mean, Rico Dowdle does it again. The matchups have been the literal nuts, right? Home against Miami, home against Dallas. But franchise record, 239 more scrimmage yards here. I mean, are we even sure that the Panthers win these last 2 games over the Dolphins and the Cowboys without Rico Dowdle? I don't even know. And so Dave Canales was asked on Monday, will Rico Dowdle continue to be the feature back when Chuba Hubbard gets back from his calf injury? Dave Canales said 2 words, we'll see, and then just moved on to the next question. So at this point, to me, it's obvious. I know I asked you this last week, Evan. At this point, it's got to be obvious. When Chuba comes back from this calf injury, they have to stick with Rico, right? I mean, they absolutely have to. He's been like the MVP of their last 2 wins. Evan, what do you think of Rico's situation? Any other Panthers thoughts?
Yeah, he was the NFC Offensive Player of the Week in Week 5, and he should be the NFC Offensive Player of the Week for Week 6, which usually means that he ends up being that guy ends up being the NFC Offensive Player of the Month. I mean, he's got 473 scrimmage yards from scrimmage over his last 2 games. He's the first player since Dalvin Cook in 2020. Remember what happened in 2020? There was like this pandemic, and Dalvin Cook had back-to-back games of 200-plus yards from scrimmage. That was the last time that's happened. That was like 5 years ago. So, I mean, Rico Dowdle is playing at a historic level, and you talk about easy matchups. They got the Jets coming up next. So I expect Rico Dowdle to stay hot. I absolutely think that he has taken the starting job away from Chuba Hubbard. When Chuba Hubbard gets back, he can be a role player. He's not a difference maker. We've known that.
Yeah.
And guys like that are, guys we kind of try to stay away from in fantasy drafts, even though they have nice looking projected volume. We know that they can be replaced by a guy like Rico Dowdle. And I think that's going to happen.
I will say that why pass? It's like over the last 4 weeks, the Panthers are dead last in pass rate over expectation. Despite missing 3 offensive linemen on Sunday, they continue to just run the ball really well. Like their run scheme is just very, very good. And so I think Tedero McMillan is an awesome player. He gets 2 more touchdowns here. I'm just worried that they don't want to drop back Bryce Young very much at all. And so from a volume perspective on T-Mac, it's a bit scary. I will also say Jalen Coker expected back here this week, and probably Jatavian Sanders as well. So that will help at least a little bit for the Panthers.
Yeah, all of a sudden the Panthers are 3-3, and they got reasons for optimism, whereas it seemed like they were just buried a few weeks ago. Also, keep in mind that Rico Dowdle's been doing this without the Panthers starting center, their starting right guard, and this past week without their starting right tackle, Taylor Moton. So this has
Yeah.
been happening even while Carolina has been shorthanded. The arrow was pointing up on this team.
Run scheme is good, for sure. And I'm not surprised that they were dead last 4 weeks.
Also, their defense is respectable. I mean, we have
Yeah.
been talking about them as, oh, let's just attack this defense. I'm not so sure that we should. And they've had good numbers to this point, and I'm
Yes.
still fairly skeptical. But they've got some dudes playing at a really high level. Brian Baldinger, who does a lot of all 22, he's a former defensive lineman himself. He knows how to look at a defensive lineman and assess the play of a defensive lineman. He's like Derek Brown is the best defensive tackle in the NFL right now, and he's been a huge difference maker. They've been playing the run really, really well, and they
Yes.
did in this game in particular because it looked like a great spot for Javonte Williams on paper, held to 13 carries for 29 yards.
They've done a really good job in run defense, like infinitely better. And the DVP model, you can always find the DVP model that we have in the NFL tab. It's starting to pick up on that, where we have Panthers now like middle of the pack matchup for running back, whereas all year last year they were the best possible matchup for running back. I still think you can throw on the Panthers, but yeah, running against them, it's not something I'm looking to attack.
Maybe
right
there'll
now.
be a pass funnel.
Let's go to the Chicago Bears. So Bears get a late fumble last night, beat the Commanders on a last-second field goal. What a night for DeAndre Swift. 16 touches into 175 yards and a touchdown. Evan, what did you think of Bears' performance last night against the Commanders?
Yeah, Swift looked great. I mean, he had a ton of space, though. Washington, and it was especially over the backside of Bears right tackle Darnell Wright, who just blocked out the sun in this game. I mean, DeAndre Swift had daylight, so much daylight, especially as the Bears were kind of salting away the game. They were just dominating with the running game. Also, Joe Thuney popped out for a bunch of great blocks. But yeah, I mean, the story of this game for the Bears was the running game. I don't know how sustainable that is. I mean, DeAndre Swift was one of the worst running backs in the league for the first 4 games of the season. They do have New Orleans coming up at home in Chicago. So, I mean, we're going to be playing DeAndre Swift. I still have a lot of skepticism about him. They need to play Luther Burden more. I know that his arrow has been going up, but he's a playmaker. He and Rome Odunze are the future of the Bears wide receiver core. Something weird happened with DJ Moore. Did you see that he was hospitalized? I don't even know what the injury or the ailment. Yeah.
Credit to DJ Moore. He was like downfield blocking, like some of the last plays of the game. And I don't know what's wrong, but ended up spending the night in the hospital. So clearly something happened at some point. He was playing through it, ends up in the hospital. But between that and Zacchaeus, some more drops or whatever, like Luther Burden is rising for sure, should probably be owned at this point in 12-team leagues. He was at 39% of the routes here. He didn't play a ton of snaps, Luther Burden, at all. I think he only played 15 snaps in this game. But his route rate, how many routes he ran per dropback, 39%. That was a season high there. Previous season high was week 3 at 31%. The other story was about the post-bye stuff was, would Colston Loveland get a post-bye rookie bump? He came into this game questionable due to that hip injury he sustained in week 3. He only ran 45% of the routes here. So no bump for Colston Loveland yet, but have to think that's coming at some point here as he gets healthier, strings together some practices as well. Last Bears note. God, I was in a tight matchup and I needed Rome Odunze. I couldn't believe that flag.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure, but yeah, that's why I like box score stuff. That was a sick catch by Rome. Should have been a touchdown. They call it back on what I would call a phantom flag, and that was super tilting for sure for any Rome people out there. Let's go to Cowboys. Cowboys got another elite level performance from Dak Prescott, but losing Carolina 30-27. story remains George Pickens. I'm not sure what George Pickens would be doing if CeeDee Lamb never got hurt, but regardless, Pickens, the first wide receiver with 500 plus receiving yards, 6 plus receiving touchdowns through the first 6 weeks of a season since 2023. That was a note from our friends at Underdog. CeeDee Lamb does have a chance to return in week 7 per Stephen Jones, but we'll see on that. Evan, any thoughts on George Pickens and the Cowboys game down in Carolina?
God, Pickens was a freaking baller in this game. My goodness gracious. He was also in Taylor's $300,000 winning lineup.
Yeah.
85 yards after the catch. They played him a good amount in the slot, so they got him opportunities over the middle of the field. Now that's probably going to go away when CeeDee Lamb comes back. But seeing that kind of run after catch from him, he's got to chill with the way he holds the ball.
Well,
with
Sean McCoy,
one hand.
He's hurdling dudes with the ball like a loaf of bread, like McCoy.
He is wild, dude. He is what a fun player to watch, though. And he has been crushing since week 2. He's been a top three fantasy wide receiver since week 1. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Brian Broaddus, who's covered the Cowboys for a really long time, he suggested that the Cowboys might look to trade CeeDee Lamb before the deadline. I mean, they're 2-3-1. Are they going to start winning games? Are they going to sign George Pickens to a long-term contract for a ton of money? I don't know. They have a kind of interesting decision on their hands. I personally hope with so much George Pickens, I know you have a ton of him too, that George Pickens stays in Dallas because this offense is a juggernaut for fantasy points. Also, Jake Ferguson had another 2 touchdowns, didn't he? He had 1.
You misspoke. You said CeeDee Lamb, Brian Broaddus said. He was referring to George Pickens as a trade candidate.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb is going to come back.
Right.
But Brian Broaddus was talking about George Pickens maybe as a trade candidate because his contract is coming up. And are they going to give him a big extension?
Yeah. Are you worried? Let's say George Pickens stays. And I do think overwhelmingly likely he stays. Would you consider this a sell high moment on George Pickens with the worry that when CeeDee Lamb comes back, he's going to take so many targets and slot routes, et cetera?
Well, here's the thing. CeeDee Lamb is coming back from a high ankle sprain. Mm-hmm. And CeeDee Lamb runs so many routes over the middle of the field, and he's always involved in contact. And I don't know that he is a great bet to hold up physically. And George Pickens has a place in the offense regardless, and this team is going to be throwing the crap out of the ball. And we continue to see how good George Pickens is on a weekly basis. It's like he's getting better by the week. So I don't think that this is a sell high. I think you cling to George Pickens. And, I mean, there's a chance that CeeDee Lamb goes out again. Those high ankle sprains can be tricky. We see that every year over and over again.
Yep. Agreed. Just love having Pickens. And kind of like the cat is out of the bag. This dude is a full-blown baller. Like, they have to continue to feature him even when CeeDee Lamb gets back. Speaking of being featured, we'll see if CeeDee's back this week against the Commanders. But Ryan Flournoy, 6-1 in targets over Jalen Tolbert in this game. This is second straight week that he has dominated Tolbert in targets. Clearly, they like Ryan Flournoy and are trying to get him the ball here, and he's earning targets at a pretty decent clip. Let's go to the Detroit Lions. Lions went to Kansas City on Sunday night, lose to Patty Mahomes 30-17. It was a strange start to this game on Sunday night. Lions' first drive of this game, 15 plays, 61 yards, takes up 10 minutes. Jahmyr Gibbs had 9 carries alone on that drive. Final carry count, 17-4 in favor of Gibbs over Montgomery. I thought that was a little bit skewed by the first drive. Dan Campbell did come out, I believe it was Monday or Tuesday, said that he wanted this to be a bit more even between Gibbs and Montgomery in carry split. But yeah, Evan, what do you think of Lions' performance Sunday night in Kansas City?
I mean, I think that, the biggest thing for me was that Jameson Williams finally had a good game. He's only got 2 of them on the season. They dropped his ADOT big time to make sure they got the ball in his hands, and he delivered 6 for 66 and a touchdown on 7 targets. Sam Laporta had another really nice game. This was Jahmyr Gibbs' weakest game of the season in terms of productivity. He didn't do anything in the passing game. So disappointing. But this is going to happen every once in a while. The Chiefs defense, which had been a big disappointment early in the season. They they came to play in this one. Chris Jones had his best game of the year, I think. And also the Lions were without their left tackle, Taylor Decker.
Evan mentioned the Jameson Williams ADOT. Maybe the Lions are listening to this show, Evan, because we came out here and whined about Jameson Williams with like a 22-yard ADOT in weeks 1 through 4. In week 5, JMO's ADOT was 7 yards. And then here in week 6, just 4.6 yard ADOT for JMO. So appreciate Dan Campbell and all the guys listening to this show. We appreciate your support. Let's go to the Green Bay Packers. Josh Jacobs was actually sick for this game against the Bengals. He was like throwing up on the field, but it doesn't matter. He was the whole offense against a Bengals team that just could not stop Josh Jacobs. He turns 23 touches into 150 total yards, 2 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs shaping up as one of the best round 2 picks that you could make. I mean, him and JT in round 2 were just like the absolute turbo smashes. Evan, what do you think of Packers win over the Bengals?
Yeah, the flu game for Josh Jacobs. And this was the greatest setup known to man at home. Huge favorites against a horrible Bengals run defense with Joe Flacco starting on the other side. I mean, you couldn't draw it up any better for Josh Jacobs. And he crushed in the passing game, which was the one thing I was worried about. I was worried he was going to have like a 2-catch for 9-yard game. He had 5 for 57. That was kind of a miracle. I mean, Jordan Love only had 27 dropbacks in the game. That's all that they needed. He was hyper efficient as expected. I thought that the big story from this was Matthew Golden. Coming out of the bye, he got a nice little bump, the rookie bump. He had 86 yards on 3 catches, only 5 targets. But again, the Packers just didn't throw the ball much, period, in this game. Matthew Golden now has a 30-yard or more catch in 3 straight games, and they got him the ball on the ground twice, which is kind of the old Jaden Reed role. So I think that the arrow is clearly teetering up on Matthew Golden. It would be nice if they could get into a game where Jordan Love has to drop back to pass 35 or 40 times. It's just those games have been a little few and far between.
I love Matthew Golden. I do not think that they're ever going to be like, let's force feed this guy and get him 25% of the targets. And that's the same take we had in preseason where it's going to be super flat in terms of target shares with the Packers. Now, benefiting Golden is that Dontavian Wicks got hurt here. A concern for Golden is that Christian Watson sounds reasonably close. Like if Christian Watson gets back active the next, 2 to 3 weeks, it wouldn't shock me at all. And his role kind of overlaps a lot with Matthew Golden. So I like Matthew Golden as a player. I'm not sure he's ever going to be like the featured player. Next 2 games for the Packers: Cardinals, Steelers, Panthers. Some good setups there. Vikings were on a bye in week 6. They'll come out of it to face the Eagles in week 7. Couple things to watch. The JJ McCarthy status. As expected, Vikings confirmed they will be going back to JJ McCarthy when he is healthy. He's going to practice this week. They'll see how his ankle is. And then also the Aaron Jones health. Aaron Jones is eligible to come off of IR in week 8. We'll see how he is doing. Evan, any other Vikings notes for you as they come out of their bye?
Yeah, just keeping track. Wait, what did you say about Aaron Jones? Sorry, I was ignoring you again.
He's eligible. He's eligible to return in week 8. So we'll see.
Yeah. Right. I haven't heard any notes on him. Nothing. It has been radio silence on Aaron Jones. So that's something I've been like actively searching for, any kind of Aaron Jones news, and I just have not found it. Hopefully we'll get something this week. I mean, Kevin O'Connell had a press conference yesterday, and he was at least talking up the offensive line. Like Donovan Jackson, their first-round pick left guard, he's going to practice this week. Brian O'Neill, their stud right tackle, he's going to practice this week. Christian Darrisaw, who got banged up in the Europe game in week 5, it sounds like he's in the clear. Ryan Kelly is still on IR, their starting center. He's had multiple concussions this year, but his backup, Michael Juergens, he's going to be good to go. So their offensive line is coming back together. And that was a positive takeaway that I had from coming off their bye.
Let's go to the New Orleans Saints. Saints fall to 1-5. Home loss to the Patriots here. Biggest note to me on the Saints stuff is the Taysom Hill return. Only 12 snaps, but you saw him line up at quarterback near the goal line in this game against the Patriots. He runs one in. It's just Taysom is annoying for Saints touchdown expectations on a week-to-week basis all around, and it's like you don't know when it's going to come, you don't know how it's going to come, but I just know that Taysom Hill is going to somehow screw me if I play Olave or Shaheed or Kamara or Kendre or whatever. So Taysom's back in the mix. Evan, any thoughts on Saints game against the Patriots?
Just want to give a shout out to Nick Underhill, who was right when he was predicting that the Saints would hit a deep shot against New England, and they did. On the first play of the game, it was not to the guy that Nick Underhill predicted, though, Rashid Shaheed. It went to Chris Olave, 53 yards downfield, came very close to a touchdown. But other than that, I mean, the Saints don't have a lot of talent. I do think Spencer Rattler continues to play at a very competent level. This might have been his best game, actually. But the Saints are the least talented team in the NFL.
For sure. Chris Olave last 2 weeks is starting to turn more of his opportunities into actual points. Even with Christian Gonzalez back for the Patriots here. So that's nice to see on Chris Olave. He was close to a truly massive game. Sunday morning, the reports, there were a bunch of trade reports from the national reporters on Sunday morning. Both Schefter and Rap Sheet said the same thing that Underhill's been saying, we talked about on here. Kamara wants to retire as a Saint, sees himself as a lifelong Saint, and therefore it seems unlikely he'll be traded at the deadline. I'm not ruling it out, but both those guys seem to think it was unlikely that Kamara gets traded at the deadline.
Yeah, I think that Rap Sheet, because Rap Sheet and Underhill are boys. They used to both work the Patriots beat together.
Yep.
I think that Underhill actually gives Rap Sheet his information about the Saints. That we get it first, though. We get it before Rap Sheet.
Okay. Let's go to the Philadelphia Eagles. So really bad loss for the Eagles on Thursday night against the Giants, and you're starting to sense panic set in. Now, Eagles fans are always panicking about the Eagles. I think some of it is overblown, but some of it is real. The real concern for me on Eagles is the continued offensive line problems. Hurts took 3 sacks on Thursday night. He's on pace to take 51 sacks after taking just 38 last year. And then space in the run game. Rushing yards before contact per attempt, Eagles are 22nd in the NFL this year. They haven't been worse than 7th in any of the previous 4 years at all. So to me, those are the real concerns here. The offensive line play being the biggest. Evan, what do you think of Eagles' loss to the Giants on Thursday night?
Yeah, it was a tough one, man. Yeah, I mean, that's been the case. I mean, we've talked about it for a few weeks running now. Landon Dickerson, who was a guy that had a ton of injuries and surgeries in college, and he had offseason back surgery entering this season. He just has not been the same. Lane Johnson has been in and out. The guard Steen at right tackle, who took over from Mekhi Becton, who went to the Chargers. He hasn't been nearly as good as Mekhi Becton was. Jordan Mailata is still, I think he's PFF's number 1 graded left tackle. But, from left to right, the offensive line it's a shell of what it was last year. And that goes a long way toward explaining that large sack count for Jalen Hurts and also the lack of a consistent running game. Saquon was okay in this game, but, I mean, still, he's not hitting the explosive runs whatsoever. You want him involved in the passing game. That's how he's had the best chance to hit explosive plays.
Yeah, this season for sure. He did come out, like his first 2 runs of this game, both I believe went over 15 yards. And then after that, there was just nowhere for him to run. Opportunity has been very good for Saquon, or at least good for Saquon this season. He's just been inefficient on it. We give Howie Roseman a lot of praise, and I think it's well-deserved. But I do want to be sure we give him some negative when we see it. He gave up 2 picks for Tank Bigsby. He's been only a kick returner and not a good one at that. And then A.J. Dillon moved ahead of Will Shipley, seemingly while Will Shipley was hurt. A.J. Dillon's out there in the 2-minute drill and hurry up in the 4th quarter. He fumbles after making a catch. I mean, why is that not Will Shipley or Saquon Barkley out there? And I also think that Tank Bigsby, who you gave up 2 picks for, is a better runner than A.J. Dillon. So they really bungled this backup running back stuff, did the Eagles seemingly.
You are really picking nits to try to rip on Howie Roseman.
I mean, why
you are
give up
reaching. That is grasping for straws.
two
Okay?
picks for Tank Bigsby to fumble on kickoff returns? Like,
Those picks aren't going to amount to anything. I guarantee you.
by the way, this goal line play they have going for Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert has he just keeps getting targeted at the 1-2 yard line here. That's like one of their favorite plays. Not the one, obviously. Oh, they tush push 4 straight times here. Like, it's so bad for Barkley when you're going to start tush pushing from the freaking 4 and the 3 and start trying to tush push it in. It's like,
I was totally on board with don't ban it, just stop it, And now I'm like, no. Like, we need to ban this play now. Like, no more tush pushes, please.
Let's not do it from the 4. I mean, Jesus,
it's hurting the game. I mean, there's already plenty of issues with the NFL's watchability. Like, we don't need more.
All right. 49ers, the injury-ravaged 49ers went to Tampa on Sunday, lost 30-19. In the process, they lost the heart of their defense, arguably the heart of their team, linebacker Fred Warner, to a dislocated and broken ankle. I mean, the injury luck that the 49ers have had is just absolutely brutal. Fred Warner is going to be a huge loss for this team. Evan, any reaction to that and any other 49ers thoughts?
Fred Warner, I mean, some people think that he's the best defensive player in football. Yeah. And you compound that with having lost Nick Bosa a few weeks ago. And, I mean, you could just kind of see and the 49ers have been very respectable defensively to this point under Robert Saleh, doing a great job coaching up a ton of rookies. They're going to have to lean even more on rookies going forward. You could see the walls come crashing in on the 49ers defense going forward, no question.
On Sunday morning, we talked about Juwan Jennings versus Kendrick Bourne. I think both of us came to the conclusion that due to all these injuries Juwan Jennings is playing through, we both preferred Kendrick Bourne. Kendrick Bourne is balling also, and it helps that it's with Mac Jones, etc. But the Juwan Jennings stuff, I mean, literally hasn't practiced all year. He had the holdout, then he had a bunch of injuries. He still played a ton in this game, ran 37 routes, but ribs, shoulder, ankle, taking injections to play. Like, I don't have a great feeling about Juwan Jennings here. And similarly, don't have a great feeling about Brandon Ayuk, who, man, it's scary for Brandon Ayuk right now. I have no idea when he's going to come back, if he's going to come back at all this season. On the good side of things, George Kittle, Kyle Shanahan said George Kittle is expected back week 7, thankfully. And man, they've been throw heavy. We know they're going to be efficient with Kyle Shanahan's offense. George Kittle, if he's healthy, could absolutely erupt here down the stretch. Evan, any Juwan Jennings or George Kittle thoughts rest of season?
Juwan Jennings was also like in a shouting match with Kyle Shanahan, I think at multiple points during this past game. It was like he was being used as a decoy.
Yeah.
And hey, if I'm gonna, bust my ass to get out here with 5 broken ribs and a calf and a shoulder and whatever, and a high ankle sprain, like, can I get the ball, please? And he didn't get the ball. And Kendrick Bourne did get the ball. And Kyle Shanahan actually he talked about Brandon Ayuk at Monday's press conference, and he said he was hoping for week 10 for Brandon Ayuk, which, are they even going to want him back at that point? I mean, Kendrick Bourne has been playing at a really high level. Ricky Pearsall should be back pretty soon. Juwan Jennings should be healthier then. I mean, they're going to take back Brandon Ayuk, but where is he going to fit into the equation? George Kittle, as you mentioned, he's also going to be back hopefully this week. So where is Ayuk going to fit into that? I have no idea.
He's been throwing out that week 10 timetable since like July. I don't even buy that that's the timetable. I just think he just like keeps saying that because that's what he wants to say.
That's what he wants to say.
Yeah. Let's go to the Seahawks. Seahawks went to Jacksonville, improved to 3-0 on the road with a 20-12 win. I'm just running out of things to say about Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is having a truly historic season, 13 more targets here for a 48% share in this game. We talked about the yards per route run stuff last week. I'm not going to reiterate it all again, but now he's at 4.43. Like, I was like, well, it's going to trail off. It's going up. 4.43 now for JSN. Evan, what do you think of Seahawks win at Jacksonville?
I mean, I think it's time to start having the conversation. Is Jackson Smith-Njigba the best wide receiver in the NFL? I think you could say he might be the best route runner right now. And then again, if you want to go back to the college scouting reports, which we've talked about this kind of ad nauseum at this point, but like he was billed as not a downfield guy. He leads the NFL in catches of 20 plus air yards. Is 11 of them. He leads the NFL in yards on targets, 20 plus yards downfield. He has over 400 yards on those. And he was the fastest ball carrier in the NFL in week 6, according to Next Gen Stats. So, maybe runs a 4.48 at the combine, but plays at 4.3 flat on the field. I mean, and also has all crazy chemistry with Sam Darnold. This is the most explosive passing offense in the league, and it's kind of not even close. It's not close, actually, because Sam Darnold leads the NFL in yards per pass attempt at 9.6, and I think the next guy is at like 8.5, a full yard ahead of any other quarterback. It's the most explosive pass offense in the league.
The bar is lower this year. So many teams are struggling to throw the ball efficiently. But yeah, Sam Darnold's season stick out even more here this season as a truly elite one. On the running back split. So split, it was 33-19 in snaps. Charbonnet ahead of Kenneth Walker. I mean, Charbonnet led again in touches. And they're not throwing the ball to running backs really much at all. And so when you have that combo, it's just really hard to start either one of these guys. I don't think it changes anytime soon. They're playing so well. But man, Walker is just like so clearly more explosive and a better runner. And even on like negative runs, Charbonnet's rate of negative runs this year has been just as much as Walker's. So if it ever goes one way or the other, I think it'll go towards Walker, but I don't think they're going to change anything right now. They're playing too well and they're winning. And it's a really tough click on either of these guys, given this split, and they're not catching the ball either. Let's go to Bucks.
Oh, a bunch of people got mad at us for not talking about AJ Barner last week.
Oh, he's good at football, man.
I mean, he is. He's also a guy who, he's going to have games where he has 3 targets. Now he had 71 yards in this past game.
Yeah.
But he is good at football. He's going to be a low volume guy. So again, he's in that large bucket of tight ends that we're looking at every week. Maybe we start him. Maybe we don't. Cade Otton, Oronde Gadsden, Noah Fant this week maybe with Mike Gesicki out and the other tight end, one of their other tight ends is also, Tanner Hudson as coming off a concussion, just in a very big bucket of those guys. I don't think that all of a sudden AJ Barner is going to be like, we got to start him every week. But yes, he's played himself into a spot where, he's in the mix, and that's just what it is.
Yep. Well, we'll get to Michael Mayer too, who I consider Mayer better play than Barner, but yeah, can certainly be in the mix there as well. Let's go to Tampa. Another MVP level performance from Baker Mayfield here in this win over the 49ers. Completes 74% of his passes, 139 passer rating. Bucks score 30 points, even though Emeka Egbuka left this game. Chris Godwin didn't play. Mike Evans didn't play. He was throwing to Sterling Shepard, Cameron Johnson, who I literally had never heard of before this game, Tez Johnson, who weighs less than me. Cade Otton did lead the team in targets. Evan, what'd you think of Baker's latest MVP caliber performance in this win over the 49ers?
Yeah, he's got 2 of them in a row. I mean, I think that the Baker heroics were a little overblown early in the season when they were winning games by like 1 point. And he was, a large part of the reason why they had to come back and win. But the last 2 games, Baker Mayfield has played lights out, despite, again, a lot of injuries around him, particularly in the receiver core. Does look like Mike Evans could be back this week, but it looks like Egbuka is going to miss some time. I think that we'll see. Tez Johnson, oh man, I was worried in the first half because he was my pull-up play, and he got out of it with just having one, and it was an awesome catch.
Yep.
1 catch for a 45-yard touchdown. Thank you. He did play 71% of the snaps, though.
Yeah, led all wide receivers in routes.
Yeah, man. So, and I think he's going to get another opportunity this week because probably no Egbuka against Detroit, and the Lions' secondary is all kinds of banged up. I think right now, if I were to project it, God, Mike Evans, Tez Johnson, and Sterling Shepard looks like the Bucs 3-receiver set, and that is assuming that Mike Evans is back, which I do think he will be.
Yeah, the Bucks have already ruled out Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin for week 7. I mean, when they start ruling these guys out so early, it's scary on Bucky and Godwin. Obviously, they say that Godwin's latest leg injury is not related to the one before, but yeah, I'd be very worried about Chris Godwin here. Rashad White obviously continues to play at a good fantasy level without Bucky Irving. And yeah, Mike Evans is going to practice this week. They'll see how he is. Buka's headed for an MRI. Have not seen the results on that yet. Bye is in week 9 for the Bucks, by the way.
That Chris Godwin contract is looking like really rough, man. Yeah. And the Bucks really don't make many mistakes with contracts, with draft picks. I feel like they love that player, and they gave him a ton of guaranteed money. And man, he lasted 2 games, and he had a setback with an injury that caused him to have 2 previous surgeries. I mean, it's rough. It's rough for Chris Godwin right now. The outlook is rough.
For sure. Last NFC team is the Washington football team. Tough loss on Monday night for the Commanders against the Bears. Fantasy note to me was the Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt usage, 89% of the running back carries here. And so Chris Rodriguez was active. Jerry McNichols was in there, but they went to almost all JCM for their base carries. Evan, what do you think of that, and any other Commanders thoughts from last night?
Yeah, that was nice. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has lost a fumble in back-to-back games. This was a wet game. There was a decent amount of rain during it. But that is something to monitor. 7th-round rookie who's been fumbling, that can become an issue. They did stick with him after the fumble in the rain. So I think that bodes well. I mean, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt has been one of the most efficient runners in the league this year, and I think that his – he deserves to get second and even third chances. They got Dallas coming up. Hopefully Terry McLaurin can come back, because they're trotting out Chris Moore. Yeah. And I kind of like Luke McCaffrey, but he gets a catch a week. Of course, it goes for a bomb every week. But they need their number 1 receiver back.
I mean, not only was Terry McLaurin out again, but Noah Brown was out again too. Yep. And it's but yeah, McLaurin, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I would consider him questionable for week 7. Only other note I had on Commanders was, remember Jaden Daniels had that knee sprain. So good to see him back and running. They really let him get back to 100%, which I think was the right move. And he ran well last night, 10 carries in this game. Always good to see from a fantasy perspective for Jaden Daniels. Let's flip it over to the AFC now. We'll start with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I'm not really sure what to say at this point. The defense did get Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton back for this game. It did make a difference as they held the Rams to 4.7 yards per play, which is very, very good. But it's hard to tell anything about the Ravens when your quarterback play is so rancid. Cooper Rush, Tyler Huntley. The bad news is they're 1-5. The good news, I guess, is that they're on a bye, and then Lamar expected back in week 8. But they have to win a ton of games here if they're going to make the playoffs. Evan, what do you think of Ravens game against the Rams?
Yeah, 1-5 is really tough to battle back from. My goodness gracious, man. Yeah, they do have the bye coming up, and they sound very optimistic that Lamar is going to be back at that point. They should just be a much healthier team at that point. I mean, there's not really a whole lot else to say. We know what the deal is here. The only thing that, it kind of pissed me off, and I know it kind of pissed you off too, the Zay Flowers thing.
Yep.
Where I swear every time that we come out with, he might be on a snap count, it just never happens.
Yep.
It never happens. And we were told that Zay Flowers was going to not play his normal allotment of snaps, but I know you had this. That was 71 of 78 or something.
Yeah, to be clear, Rap Sheet tweeted this, and we did not adjust anything in projection for this. We are thinking about who says what, and we know who says what and when it matters, when it doesn't, or at least what we think. And we did not move anything on that Rap Sheet report. There's just a lot of nuance with that stuff that you have to think through. And yeah, Zay was not limited, 71 of 78 snaps here.
I'm in high stakes leagues with guys, and they're like, he's going to be on a snap count. I'm like, no, he's not. He's not going to be on a friggin' snap count. and then they want to bench him, and it wound up working out fine because I think we played Cade Otton in a tight end premium league. He had 5 for 51. I think he scored more than Zay Flowers, but Zay Flowers had 10 targets, played the entire game, went 6 for 46. He was a fine like wide receiver 3 start in that game.
I will say, yes, they're 1-5, but the Ravens' schedule is really soft, man. Their next 6 games: Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets, Bengals. So Ravens have a chance to come back here with Lamar and reel up some big fantasy days and string together a lot of wins. I'm certainly not counting out Lamar and the Ravens. Bills. Bad loss for the Bills Monday night at Atlanta. Josh Allen throws 2 interceptions. They only got off 54 plays. They only scored 14 points. I'm not sure you saw this, Evan, but Daigle was in Slack last night during the game chirping Leone. I believe he called the Bills a median team, which sent Leone, Bills homer, to the moon. Do you think, Evan, that the Bills are a median team? How panicked are you that they have now lost 2 games in a row to the Patriots and the Falcons?
I think that Daigle was a little punch drunk. He was trying to start some crap with Leone for whatever reason. He's just trying to start some, and Leone had to put him down like a good socialist.
Yeah, the Bills obviously have some concerns. I am not panicked whatsoever on the Bills. They have Josh Allen. I think, to Leone's point, one of the biggest frustrations with the Bills is they don't invest a lot in their offense because their offense performs well because they have Josh Allen. That doesn't mean that he doesn't need help. You still need to win the Super Bowl, you need to have a truly elite roster all around. So I get it from that perspective. Also, lost Josh Palmer in this game to a knee injury on a hip drop tackle. Curtis Samuel missed this game with a neck and a rib issue. He'll probably be fine after the bye. But yeah, the only wide receivers I'd even consider are Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman. The rest is a mess back there. Oh, and Dalton Kincaid was a late scratch for this game. Suspect he'll be back after the bye as well. But yeah, any other Bills thoughts before we move on here?
Just that watching the replay of that hip drop tackle on Josh Palmer was brutal, man. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason that those are outlawed.
Let's go to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Joe Flacco era is underway for the Bengals. He had a very short week to get up to speed, a very tough matchup at Green Bay. Not the best result. Joe Flacco and the Bengals got shut out in the first half. He does salvage late, though, and that is what Joe Flacco does. Like, the benefit of having a Joe Flacco is that he's so bad that they're behind, and he drops back a ton, 46 more dropbacks here. But he's not so bad that he gets benched, and so he gets to drop back 46 times, and he gets to take risks and all that. So I'm still moderately optimistic that Joe Flacco is an upgrade for T and Jamar Chase, and maybe even Chase Brown, who I'll get to in a second here. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on Joe Flacco's debut for the Bengals?
He's an upgrade in that he can throw the ball far and hard, and that, which Jake Browning can't, and that coaches in the NFL have this thing with Joe Flacco where they will let him drop back to pass a million times, which they won't let, Dylan Gabriel do, for instance. So that's good for our cause. It's not because Joe Flacco is actually good. It's because volume can lead to fantasy points.
So a big concern here was Chase Brown lost a lot of work to Samaje Perine. I think a lot of that had to do with the score. They were going to go to Perine always and hurry up in pass down stuff. But still, it's just so bad all around right now. And you need Chase Brown out there for hurry up and passing downs if this team's going to be losing by 10, 20, 25 points every single week. So, yeah, the Joe Burrow injury just been so devastating for the entire team, and especially Chase Brown.
Yeah, and I would say, again, and I'm going to repeat this because I mentioned it earlier, but Noah Fant becomes fairly interesting on Thursday night as a streamer because Mike Gesicki is out for a while, and Tanner Hudson is coming off a concussion on a short week. So if you're desperate for a tight end, Noah Fant is going to be a pickup.
Okay. Yeah. Sucks on Mike Gesicki. Shout out Penn State. It sounds like he's going to miss a significant amount of time. Browns. Cleveland went to Pittsburgh and got smoked. They didn't even score a touchdown. Big story to me was the David Njoku knee injury in this game. I'm not sure on the severity, but it allowed Harold Fannin to rack up 10 targets, go 781-0. Only a 19% share here as Gabriel threw it an absurd 52 times. But yeah, 45 routes for Harold Fannin here on 58 dropbacks. And we have seen Dylan Gabriel in his starts have an extremely high tight end target rate to both Fannin and Njoku. So if Njoku misses time, Fannin is going to be very, very exciting to me, at least as a streamer. Evan, what do you think of Brown's game against the Steelers?
Yeah, just after I went off that rant about Joe Flacco being allowed to throw a lot, and then you mentioned that, and I said something about Dylan Gabriel not being allowed to throw that much. He had 52 attempts in this game. Sorry, it's been a rough day. The Browns, they allowed a 70% pass rush win rate against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had not been rushing the passer particularly well early in the season. They come off their bye. They're healthy. And Dylan Gabriel's under a ton of duress, 4 yards per pass attempt. We're already starting to see the stuff about Shedeur Sanders. And I do think Shedeur Sanders might make starts before the end of the season. I think he's probably a favorite maybe to make some starts before the end of the season. But I mean, not a lot of life from the Browns offense in this game. And Quinshaw Judkins, this was a game where, they were playing from behind, but he got stopped up probably this is the first time he got stopped up this season.
Yeah, when you're losing, they're not going to have Judkins in there as much. Judkins 33 snaps in this game, Jerome Ford 33, Dylan Sampson 15. But yeah, team environment is like the only concern for me on Judkins. Still think they have definitely a hit on their hands with.
There also has been some discussion of the Browns firing Kevin Stefanski and maybe going to Jim Schwartz as their interim head coach. I don't know. Maybe I think Mike McDaniel will be the next coach fired, but it might be close with Kevin Stefanski and Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, I don't think this is on Kevin Stefanski, man.
Oh, I don't either.
Yeah, I think Kevin Stefanski, and I know he said he's going to keep calling the plays. I don't think this is on him, man. I would not fire Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, it is 100% on Jimmy Haslam.
Right.
It's 100% on Jimmy Haslam.
Let's go to the Broncos. This was the London game, and man, this was one of the ugliest games of the season. The Broncos squeezed out a win over the pathetic Jets, but the Broncos only averaged 4.3 yards per play. I feel bad for these people that go to these games in London and they have to watch this. This was a horrific game to watch, Jets and Broncos. Ugly one for Cortland Sutton, J.K. Dobbins. Troy Franklin lost a fumble. Evan, what do you think of Broncos' ugly win against the Jets?
Ugly win, but not so ugly for you and me. I received a text message from Adam Levitan yesterday, and Adam Levitan, you don't text. So I'm like, oh God, did something bad happen? And I looked at it, and he sent me the Defensive Player of the Year odds, and Nick Bonito is sitting at the top. And Patrick Surtain, who won the DPOY last year, talked publicly, I think Nick Bonito deserves it. So this is what we needed for Nick Bonito. Not for him to just be hyper-productive, which he has been, but for him to get on the national radar because, he's Nick Bonito. But he's there now.
6 tackles, 1 sack, 2 quarterbacks hits in this game for Nick Bonito. Yeah, we had James Palmer also tweet that Nick Bonito should be the Defensive Player of the Year. So yeah, it's certainly all happening there. A couple small usage notes for the Broncos. Jaleel McLaughlin, not Tyler Bidet, was active for this game, and McLaughlin only played 6 snaps. RJ Harvey 17, J.K. Dobbins 30. Again, I'd love to see them just use 2, but they always seem to want to have a pure pass down back up. Other usage note, Pat Bryant, the rookie, more routes here than Marvin Mims. I don't think that really matters, but it's just Marvin Mims' role is not growing. If anything, it's getting worse for Marvin Mims here in the Sean Payton mess. Home against Giants next. Let's go to the Houston Texans. Texans were on a bye. They will come out of it to face the Seahawks on Monday night. Game before the bye, remember, the Texans just thrashed the Ravens JV team 44-10. Not expecting those fireworks against Seattle. Big thing to watch, though, on the Texans for me is, will there be a rookie bump for Woody Marks? Will Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel get more work? Given how well the Texans offense played in week 5, Xavier Hutchinson, Christian Kirk. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. Evan, any thoughts on Texans rookies or anything else as they come out of their bye?
I don't even have any notes on the Texans. They made no noise during their bye week. I'll be interested to see though how their offensive line comes out of the bye. Their offensive line did play well in that game against Baltimore. Now it was the JV team, as you said, because they got a really big test coming up against Seattle, which just thrashed the Jacksonville offensive line, which has been playing well.
Yeah.
So big test for Houston.
Let's go to the Indianapolis Colts. Colts get a hard-fought win over the Arizona Cardinals. Before we get into the game, I have to address this Anthony Richardson thing, man. Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones' backup, of course, was working out with like bands before the game, getting loose. That's how these guys stretch. Apparently, there was some fluke accident. He fractured an orbital bone and has to go to the hospital, working out with bands. I mean, this guy can't stay on the field when he's playing football. He's warming up. He hits himself in the eye with a band, and now he's going IR for 4 weeks. I mean, it's like this guy cannot get out of his own way.
He must have reeled that band back so freaking hard to fracture his orbital bone.
It's crazy.
Hey, now Riley Leonard is one injury away from being the Colts starting quarterback.
As for this game, Jonathan Taylor continues to have one of the best fantasy seasons possible, carried the team here. Arguably fantasy's number one player. I mean, we've had him off and on there for the last month and the rest of the season, top 150. Our fresh rest of season top 150 will be out tonight, Tuesday night, for anyone that has Draft Kit Pro. But I think JT certainly has a very, very good case to be up there at number one. Evan, any more thoughts on this Colts win over the Cardinals?
Yeah, if you're in like two QB super flex, dynasty, deep, like put Riley Leonard on your bench. He is going to be, he has a chance to be like a really good fantasy player because he is an awesome, awesome runner. And, you know, he's one, I know we think it's funny, but I mean, he could be good in fantasy, especially in super flex. The Colts are a legit prolific scoring team. They have, through 6 games, they have the most points scored in franchise history. You know, there was a guy named Peyton Manning who was the Colts quarterback for like almost 2 decades. So, I mean, this has been unbelievable. Again, they should be 6-0, if not for A.D. Mitchell, who has a -1 WAR on the season. And A.D. Mitchell was a healthy scratch for this one with Alec Pierce back. Also, one more note, Josh Downs leads the Colts in targets over the last 3 weeks. He's got 20 targets over the last 3 weeks. I know he's still only in 3 receiver sets, which can be frustrating. And what happens with those guys is, you know, eventually he's going to hit a game where he gets 3 targets.
Yep.
You know, but he's been very, very involved when he's been on the field.
That was the exact note that I had from this game. I mean, almost to a word, that Josh Downs has out-targeted Michael Pittman lately, out-targeted Michael Pittman 7-3. Here, 28% target share in week 5, 23% target share in week 6. It's all really good, but he's still mostly in 3 wide receiver sets only. So it's going to be a bit unpredictable on Josh Downs, but man, he is a good player, like just good at the game is Josh Downs. Let's go to the Jaguars. Jaguars lost at home to the Seahawks. They struggled to run the ball. ETN did have a few nice runs called back by penalty. But yeah, they lose this game. I have some thoughts on Travis Hunter, but yeah, just generally, Evan, what do you think of Jaguars' loss to the Seahawks?
Yeah, Brian Thomas had his best game of the season, even in a game where he lost a 54-yard touchdown on an offsides penalty that was called on Travis Hunter. Yeah, I mean, I have some notes on Travis Hunter, but go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought this would be a spot to get Travis Hunter going. Brenton Strange was out. Seattle was missing 3 guys in their secondary. And still, Travis Hunter only caught 4 passes for 15 yards and a 16% target share. Now, the good news on Travis Hunter was he ran 44 routes on 51 dropbacks. But they continue to use him just so close to the line of scrimmage. His average depth of target, Travis Hunter in this game, 4 yards, like pathetically low. And they also asked him to play 22 defensive snaps. So he ran 44 routes on 51 dropbacks and played 22 defensive snaps. I just think, like, try to be great at something instead of being okay at 2 things. That's just my take. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, the way they're using him is just it's not ideal, and maybe he's just not good enough at NFL wide receiver right now either. I don't think that's like, not saying he's never going to be, but maybe right now he's just not good enough at NFL wide receiver. Oh yeah, the BTJ stuff I had as well. My God, I mean, he was close to literally breaking the slate. He had another bad drop, but he had that one call back by penalty. Jaguars play the Rams next in yet another London game next week. Chiefs, great win for the Chiefs on Sunday night. We've talked a lot about the shift in Mahomes rushing this season. That hit again here. He carried it 10 times, scored a rushing touchdown, threw for 3 touchdowns. I mean, Mahomes is the MVP favorite right now, and I'd say deservedly so. Oh, and by the way, he also gets Rashee Rice back here this week. So, Evan, any thoughts on Chiefs win over the Lions on Sunday night?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is good at fantasy again, and it has so much to do with his rushing. He has not been a good fantasy player since 2022. He is again, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, he's one of the best rushing quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's not something that he really had in his bag during the regular season at any point in his career. He turned it up during the playoffs, and he's turning it up here. Rashee Rice is going to be I'm so excited. I have a lot of Rashee Rice. Yeah. I'm so excited for him to play. I think he comes in right away, dominates against the Raiders. Super, super excited. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes elevating guys around him. You know, they were without their starting left tackle in this game, and you know, nothing hurt. I mean, Patrick Mahomes playing at that level that we saw in 2020, 2021, 2022.
The Chiefs are like the only team in the NFL that's actually trying to throw the ball aggressively. Everybody else is just like neutral or run heavy. Chiefs are trying to throw it a ton, and now you drop Rashee Rice into that role. It's just so exciting for Rashee Rice here.
One note that Nate Tice, who played at Wisconsin, was the backup to Russell Wilson, and he's become the son of Mike Tice, a really good analyst for, I think, Yahoo. He noted that one thing the Chiefs have started to incorporate is a lot of horizontal stuff in their passing game to get the ball on like layup routes, and that is what Rashee Rice specializes in. Oh, yeah. And the Chiefs are doing more of that lately, and more of that than they've done in a while. Getting the ball into a guy like Rashee Rice's hands horizontally, and he turns upfield, like that is going to be a lot of fun when he gets involved, which is going to happen this week.
Yeah, I think Rashee Rice will take targets mainly away from Travis Kelce. In terms of how much we expect Rashee Rice to play in Week 7, his first game, we'll probably have him projected something around 85-90% of normal, considering how long he's been out. He hasn't played an NFL game in over a year here at this point. So, but yeah, I think he'll quickly ramp up to 100%. If I had Rashee Rice in season long, I would not hesitate to start him here right away. Last note for me on the Chiefs, I thought Pacheco actually played a good game here. 49-19 for Pacheco in snaps ahead of Kareem Hunt. Brashard Smith only played 6 snaps. So it still sucks for Pacheco that they're going to be so throw heavy that Kareem Hunt's going to take a lot of third down and goal line stuff. But at least Pacheco is trending up a little bit in snaps here. Let's go to the Raiders. Raiders beat the lowly Titans, get Brian Callahan fired. But man, this is not going to halt concerns around Geno and this offensive line. Geno, 2.6 yard average depth of target in this game. Like almost unimaginable how short Geno Smith was throwing in this game. It just seems like he's lost all confidence at this point, and maybe the team has as well. But getting a win is good. Evan, what do you think of Geno and the Raiders against the Titans?
Yeah, the only significant takeaway that I had was Michael Mayer, who went 5 for 50 with a touchdown on 7 targets. That's great tight end production, obviously top 5 on the week. And he's going to get another opportunity because Brock Bowers is not going to play in Week 7, which Pete Carroll all but confirmed in his Monday press conference.
Yep, and then Raiders have a bye in Week 8. I think we'll see Brock Bowers back here in Week 9. Let's go to the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins fall to 1-5 with a 29-27 home loss to the Chargers. We finally got the explosive boom run from Devon Achane to go along with his outrageous overall profile and usage. That 49-yard touchdown around the edge, just sick. I also thought Jalen Waddle was really good again. The defense is so bad, and so it's hard for team to get wins, for Mike McDaniel to get any credit. But I do think he is continuing to do very well, play calling and getting his guys in the right spots. Evan, what do you think of Dolphins' loss to the Chargers?
Yeah, I mean, there is like a group of people that just hate Jalen Waddle. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw that during draft season. I'm talking about like fantasy football drafters.
Yeah.
We saw that during, and we were able to benefit from that, getting Jalen Waddle in like the 5th and 6th rounds. And obviously, we had a nice run out because Tyreek Hill is done for the year. But I mean, he's capitalizing. He's playing like a true wide receiver one. He's getting fed like a true wide receiver one. He had a sick catch in this game for 45 yards. I mean, he's doing alpha wide receiver things. Sometimes when guys just need the opportunity. Devon Achane, who, we've been kind of begging for him to hit those long runs we saw him hit as a rookie. He got one of those in this game, 49 yards after that Arondé Gadsden lost fumble. And another move up for Darren Waller, who only had 3 targets in this game, but you could talk about his participation bump.
Man, I think Waller, it's setting up really well for him. And I know he didn't have a good game here. Maybe that's a chance to buy him low. Darren Waller's route rate since he's come back, week 4, 36%, week 5, 66%, week 6, 81% of the routes for Darren Waller. There are not that many tight ends in the league that run 80% of the routes and also have the kind of receiving profile, red zone profile that Darren Waller has. So I'd be pretty excited, actually, if I had Darren Waller on a season-long team. After the game, Tua Tagovailoa called out teammates, talking about late for meetings. I mean, just a mess. Now, Stephen Ross is still backing Mike McDaniel. That doesn't really mean much. You can obviously fire him at any time if he wants, but I still think that Mike McDaniel is best served as a play caller, offensive coordinator, and somebody else as a head coach. But let's continue to pray and hope that McDaniel sticks around to call the plays for the rest of the season.
Did you see the rumor was that Stephen Ross might replace Mike McDaniel with Rex Ryan, who was calling Mike McDaniel Nerd Boy or whatever on ESPN in week 2?
This is like growing up. Rex Ryan's going to stuff Mike McDaniel in a locker and he's going to give him a swirly or something like that. All right. Patriots moved to 4-2 with a win at New Orleans. The Drake May thing is going full mainstream now. It's just so obvious. Going back to last year, we talked about it. Drake May is special. And now they have better pieces around him. And you get games like this where May posts a 140.1 passer rating, also runs 9 times for 28 yards. The New England Patriots are in first place in the AFC East in the wake of that Bills loss last night. Evan, what do you think of Patriots win over the Saints?
Yeah, and it could have been a lot bigger for Drake May. I mean, he got the vast majority of his stats, all 3 of his touchdowns in the first half against New Orleans, and the Patriots lost 113 passing yards and a touchdown to OPIs in this game. So it could have been a lot bigger for Drake May. He still led the team in rushing, which, by the way, their running game, oh gosh. But yeah, super exciting season so far for Drake May. Do you think in week, and we'll talk about this more on the Friday show, I know, do you think that Mike Vrabel going to Tennessee is going to just want to drop the hammer on the Titans and just, unleash the dogs, let the dogs out, if you will, and try to drop a 50 burger on the Titans?
Yes, absolutely.
Love it. Oh,
absolutely.
Man, let's go.
I mean, not even close, of course. Steph Diggs, really quiet game here. I know people were excited about him. We talked a bunch about him. I actually played Steph Diggs in cash on FanDuel on this slate. You can read more about that. The cash lineup review article is always free on the site, but it's similar to the Josh Downs conversation, similar to the Jaden Reed situation. Steph Diggs, when you're only running 60% of the routes or whatever, you're going to have some floor games here. That's what happened to Steph Diggs. This was the first game without Antonio Gibson. Ramondre Stevenson, 46-19 was the gap between Ramondre and Travion Henderson. I will say, Travion Henderson only played 19 snaps. He got 11 touches on those 19 snaps. So if you want to say something positive about Travion, when he's in there, he's at least getting the ball,
His
So
touch per snap rate.
what's up?
His touch per snap rate.
Yes, exactly. He's earning touches, is what the optimistic side of the trade deadline.
Right. A touch earner.
Let's go to the New York Jets. I mean, the Jets are 0-6 now. They lost this game in London to the Broncos. Aaron Glenn is taking a beating, not just in the media, but like end of the first half. They're not even trying to score. They're just trying to run the clock out. And Garrett Wilson, who hurt his knee, by the way, he's going to be out a couple weeks, more on that in a minute. Garrett Wilson's like in Aaron Glenn's ear. And I'm sure Glenn wants to say, listen, man, we're facing one of the NFL's best defenses in the Broncos, and our quarterback can't complete a pass in Justin Fields. Running the clock out is our only prayer, but it's rough right now for Aaron Glenn. Evan, what do you think about the Jets game against the Broncos?
Man, the Jets are 0-6. I mean, whew, gosh, it's freaking brutal. He even came up as a guy that could get fired during the season, Aaron Glenn. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's been a horrible start. The Jets against the Broncos, and it was the Broncos, but still, 82 yards on 57 offensive snaps, minus 10 net passing yards in the game. Justin Fields, obviously, he took 9 sacks and had 9 completions. People are calling for Tyrod Taylor. Aaron Glenn does seem to have Justin Fields back.
Yeah.
But now they got an upstart, but now they're going to be without his first read. That's the thing. Justin Fields is a first read passer all the way, and now Garrett Wilson is going to be out with a hyperextended knee. I mean, it's just getting worse for the Jets.
So I like Justin Fields a lot before this season. It's gone way worse than I expected, and Justin Fields has still been a very good fantasy quarterback when you started him for the most part. I am worried, of course, about getting benched, but as Evan said, Aaron Glenn got angry that anyone even suggested that Justin Fields could be benched. I will say, from the rushing perspective, the Broncos have been very, very good against running quarterbacks this season. And Justin Fields' next 2 games are against Carolina and then Cincy. So no Garrett Wilson hurts a ton. I mean a ton, but he can at least run against those 2 teams.
We'll be talking about Mason Taylor, I could tell you that.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, hyperextended knee. The bye is in week 9. I don't think we're going to see Garrett Wilson until week 10 here at this point for the Jets. Let's go to the Steelers. Easy win for the Steelers over the Browns. They dominate with defense. The big question on offense coming into this game, Evan, we talked about it a ton, was would Jaylen Warren get his job back from Kenny Gainwell? Jaylen Warren started. Jaylen Warren got the first 2 carries of the game. Gainwell got the third. But in the end, the snaps were only 31-20 in favor of Warren. They each ran 13 routes. Opportunities were Warren 13, Gainwell 12. And also, Caleb Johnson, for the first time coming out of the bye, he actually got some first half carries, which is not great for Warren or Gainwell. So, Evan, any thoughts on the Steelers and the way it went with Gainwell and Warren?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of anticipating Kenneth Gainwell after that awesome game in Europe, making a move on Jaylen Warren, and that happened. The Caleb Johnson thing kind of came out of nowhere, but I mean, Caleb Johnson didn't do anything with his opportunity. So I guess I think it should be a 55-45 backfield the rest of the way between Warren and Gainwell, which is frustrating for me because I had a lot of Jaylen Warren very cheap in drafts, but Gainwell deserves it. It's warranted.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd still be okay starting these guys in the right spots, starting Warren in the right spots. However, if Caleb Johnson's going to start taking a few carries here or there, that matters, when you're already splitting 2 ways instead of.
They got the Bengals coming up on Thursday night. So
yeah.
I mean, Warren and Gainwell will be usable.
Last note, this has been going on for a year and a half now, but Schefter reported on Monday that the Steelers are looking to trade for a wide receiver. And everybody gets all excited. They're like, oh, let's trade for this and this. It's probably going to end up being Allen Lazard or something totally dusty, but the Steelers have been in the market for another weapon for a very long time now. Obviously, I think they should have done something and figured it out with George Pickens if they really wanted that, but they decided to go in a different direction there. But yeah, we'll see ahead of the deadline. All right. That's going to do it for another Team by team. Evan and I will be back Friday night with Wiggins to talk about all angles of the Sunday main slate for in-season subscribers. First round of projections for week 7 will be out Wednesday night as well. Rest of the season top 150 working on now will be out late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. For Evan, producer Ryan, producer Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.